Hello everyone, Locust Storm here. Welcome to another round of Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Once we get through some updates. There we go. Yes, thank you for my free whatever this is. Alright. Can I please get to the game? Yes, close. There we go. Alright. So last time we had some interesting experiences with Mermail and the Dream Mirror archetype. This one... Okay. Just for everyone's information, my sound card seems to be bugging out right now, so if there's any issues with the recording, that would be the reason for that. I may have to re-record this if the issue gets too bad, but we'll see. Moving on to Vendread. Oh geez, and this looks like a long one, so this may be the only one we do today. Well, let's get started. Dark Dead Vengeance. Within the concrete jungle of high-rise buildings, people hustle and bustle among the sleepless city lights. I guess this is Tokyo? However, that was a long time ago. A darkness that shrouded the sky above turned the world into one that would never see morning come again. And with the darkness came monsters that threatened the peace of the city, the Vendreads. The Vendreads started as corpses that crawled out of their graves, except their bodies had transformed into something grotesque. Without a single shred of their memories from their past life or any will of their own, they would wander the streets at night and attack any living human or animal in their path, guided only by their instinct. No firearm, tank, or any sort of modern weaponry could defeat these creatures. What's worse, anyone or anything that was unfortunate enough to become a victim of a Vendread would become one themselves. The Vendread threat was like a match thrown into a forest, spreading fear like an uncontrollable blaze. As the undead continued to rapidly multiply, those remaining of flesh and blood scrambled fruitlessly for a solution. The Vendread horde soon made their way to the hastily built wall that served as the sole line of defense for the living. Among them was a young man who had also lost his life to the undead. He was no different from the other Vendreads, wandering the same shrouded city with the same mindlessness. But as luck would have it, one day, as the young man continued to drift about mindlessly, he came across a young woman who had been carried off by the Vendreads. His mind had already long faded, or it should have, but as his eye caught the locket that hung from the woman's neck, something stirred within him. Memories of his past life began to flood into his head in a great crashing wave. He knew the woman with the pendant before him. She had once been the love of his life. His mind twisted and turned with a desperate sadness as he realized that his love was no longer of this world. I guess she still would be, though. She would become a Vendread too, no? That sadness soon boiled over into a seething rage and hatred for the Vendreads that had robbed her of her life. As his mind dragged itself out from the bogs of its undead deaths, a flame of hatred ignited his heart. The violent burst of emotion tore his body apart with unbearable pain as it began to transform and rebuild itself into something much stronger. When the transformation ended, the man steadied his uneven breath and stood up. He took the locket and hung it around his neck so he could keep the memory of his beloved close by. Then he spoke into the silent night. Oh my. I swear I will vanquish every last one of these walking corpses if it's the last thing I do. And thus the new agent of vengeance was born. He was the Vendread who would hunt the other Vendread. Revendread Slayer. This is the beginning of the Lone Avenger's fierce battle. Even in that day, the living struggled bravely from within the city wall to keep alive. The Vendread horde that pursued the living pushed against the barrier like crashing wave and showed no sign of ever stopping. Their numbers seemed to only be going up, too. They continued to groan and wail deep into the night, day after day. The terror was too much. The citizens were finding it harder and harder to keep sane under these horrific circumstances. But then, a single shadow loomed over the horde. The shadow darted forth and cut down a Vendread with a single swoop quick as lightning. But he didn't stop there. Any Vendread that dared stand in his way would be stabbed, hit, kicked, and knocked down. They'd have their limbs and rotting flesh torn, twisted, and ripped from their bodies. And once the shadow had finished hunting down every last walking corpse that plagued the city wall, he disappeared back into the darkness as quickly as he had appeared, not even sparing a single moment to look back at the crowd he had just saved. But the Revendread Slayer was not interested in being a hero. All he wanted was revenge. He would stop at nothing to destroy any Vendread that entered his line of sight. But regardless of his intentions, the fact was that he had swooped onto the scene like a bolt from the blue and defeated all the Vendreads. To the survivors, he was their single ray of hope. Word of the mysterious undead hunter began to spread quickly throughout the city. As the nights continued, he too continued his battles. However, the Vendreads weren't going to stand for being hunted down so mercilessly. With the carnage, the undead began to change. Until now, the humans and animals that had turned into Vendreads had stayed about the same physical size as they had been when they passed. That was one of the main reasons the survivors had been able to keep the horde back with just their average human strength. However, now that the Vendreads were being pursued by a relentless executor in the form of a Revendread Slayer, they began to feel threatened. Some of them even began to merge with each other to create bigger Vendread. Few words can describe how grotesque it looked, and people began to name it after a certain multi-headed beast of legend. They called it the Vendread Chimera. The creature would threaten the safety of the people beyond the wall for many nights. It possessed the powers and strengths of numerous Vendreads, and even the Slayer was beginning to have trouble fighting it. Every time they battled, the Slayer would only just manage to fight it off. He was never successful in completely silencing it. However, the more they fought, the more weaknesses they uncovered. The Slayer found that within the Chimera there lay a core that governed all its actions. The Slayer charged with the core and threw all his strength into it, destroying it. And finally, the Chimera crumbled into a pile of rotting flesh and bones. At first, it seemed that the Slayer's do-or-die attack had ended things once and for all, with the agglomeration of animosity that was the Chimera, but the tragedy would only further unfold from here. The clash of the undead would only escalate, further and further into something beyond human comprehension. All the survivors could do was pray that one day, the Vendread would be vanquished and dawn would break once more over their city. I suppose evacuating the city just wasn't an option for some reason. Anyway. Alright, so practice time. So, from what I know of this deck, which is not much, it's a ritual-based deck. I think a few of the cards were meta, but the archetype as a whole was not. Let's see what we get. What makes a Vendread deck unique? It's a deck based around ritual monsters. If you choose a non-ritual Vendread monster on your field to tribute your ritual summon, the ritual summon monster gains extra effects. Okay, that seems pretty standard. Yeah, summon a monster with no attack in attack mode. Summon Revendread Slayer and win the duel. Okay, so let's look at these cards. So this is the ritual card. Summon a Vendread monster. You may tribute monsters from your hand or fields, or banish zombies from your graveyard whose levels. If a Vendread Slayer you control would be destroyed, banish this card instead. Okay, so this guy has protection. What does Vendread Slayer do? Or a Vendread Slayer. Ritual summon with a Vendread ritual spell. Once per turn, if this card battles an opponent's monster. During damage calculation, banish a monster from a zombie from your graveyard. This card gains 300 attack. That's it. If this ritual summon card is sent to the graveyard, add a ritual spell from your deck to your hand, and send a Vendread from the deck to the graveyard. Okay, decent floating effect. So let's see, Vendread Revenants. If this card in your possession is destroyed by your opponent's card, sent to the graveyard, special summon this card, banish it when it leaves the field. Okay. A Vendread ritual monster. A Vendread monster ritual summoned using this card in the field gains this effect. You can only use the preceding effect once per turn. So once per turn, quick effect, target a special summon monster your opponent controls, banish it. That is a solid effect to inherit. And what about you? Okay, so this card's in the graveyard, discard a Vendread, special summon it, banish it when it leaves the field. A Vendread monster ritual summon using this card on the field gains an effect, which is once per turn you can banish a spell trap card. Again, decent effect to inherit. The fact that these guys have to be on the field, though, for the inheritance to work is kinda eh. Anyway. Let's use our 2 cards here. Come forth, Revendread Slayer. Yep, so now we can activate your effect. Oh, Sakaratsu armor. Oh, I see. Now we're gonna attack this thing and use his banish effect to increase his attack. Yep. Activate your effect. Banish. I guess this one, because the other one's easier to summon. Kaboom! I just kind of noticed the city background we're in. It looks nice. Okay. So now we move on to a proper duel. We're gonna have to see how this goes. Okay, so I'm going first. Okay, we have an interesting situation here. So since we have Pot of Extravagance, let's start by checking our extra deck. This card I'm probably not summoning. Crush Sheep. He has a useful effect if I ritual summon to its zone, so we'll see about that. Vampire Sucker. That could be useful. Okay, so I don't have a ton of super amazing cards in here, so I don't feel bad about activating Pot of Extravagance. Okay, pre-preparation of rites. That could be helpful. Okay, so I have a spell. Okay, I think I'll activate Vendread Menace now. And then, I know your first effect. What's your second effect? When your Vendread monster destroys the first monster by battle, Vendread monster, the advantage of Vendread from your graveyard, it can attack another monster again. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna activate your effect, send Mezuki to the graveyard. Now let's take a look at these boys. Alright, so your inherited effect is to pop spell traps. Your inherited effect is to banish special summon monsters. What's your inherited effect? This card is sent to the graveyard, reveal a Vendread in your hand, special summon it. Okay, this one is not as good. Man, I have a super basic lineup here. Alright. Next was Foolish Burial. If I send you to the graveyard, then I can activate its effect. Guess I'll reveal this card. And then summon you for free. Okay, so now, pre-preparation of rites. Let's add both of these to my hand. summon you. Then ritual summon. Okay. So now I got a Revendread Slayer with 2 inherited effects. Let's see how that does. Oh, you have other Vendreads in your deck that I don't have. You had 3 of those? What to do. I'm a little concerned about his face down card. Let's see. If I discard this card to this effect, I can then special summon it immediately. That seems like the play. Then I can add the hounds to my hand. I guess I'll just reveal I have this card in my hand. Summon you in defense mode. Okay, so next up... And target a face-up monster your opponent controls that has a level. Tribute it. If you do, special summon a Vendread token with a level equal to the tributed monster's level. To my field, I think. When the token special summoned by this effect is on the field, you cannot normal or special summon monsters except Vendreads. Okay, that last effect I don't think is necessary. But... So what do I do now? I can use Mezuki to summon a monster from my graveyard. Okay. I think we just gotta not be coward and just go for it. Yes, I'm using the effect of a Vendread Origin. Protect my monster, please. Do I want to do this? I think I do want to do this. Darn it. I forgot I only had these 2 in my graveyard. Fine. I can discard a card, draw a card. Yes, I will do that. Oh, that works swimmingly. Okay. So main phase 2. Alright, the plan is coming together. Activate an effect. Okay, I don't want to use this yet. As for this... Okay, I don't know what this is gonna do. Oh, I see. Yeah, let's do this. Really, that's it? Oh, pre-preparation of rites. Perfect. No, I don't want to use that. Yep, give me this. And give me this. Okay, so now the trick is... we summon this fellow. And we use Magic Key to resurrect this fellow. And now... alright. We're gonna tribute our hounds. We're gonna tribute this guy. Alright. Nope. Boom! Boom! Alright, so now we got a Slayer that can pop back row and another one that's just decent in battle. Oh, he's ritual summoning now. Not yet. I'm a little surprised it took this long considering how many free ritual monsters he had in his hand. Well, shoot, I don't know which one does which. There we go. Banish your monster. Oh, he nerfed all my stats. Good thing I banished him then. Also good thing, it doesn't really matter. It's the end. Alright. Some Vyra the Dark. Talk about a classic card, I guess. Alright. Looks like we got 2 more scenarios to cruise through. After a long and bitter struggle, a Revendread Slayer would finally destroy the Vendread Chimera threat. Right, we just went over that. No one could predict that this defeat would only bring more dreadful threats. One day the Slayer felt a menacing presence like never before, overflowing with an unabating grudge. He immediately headed toward it, determined to find the source. He saw that the wall had been broken through, even though it had held up well against the Chimera threat. The wall and the scavenged armored vehicles that were taking the brunt of the attack were destroyed, and countless people were found slain. The Vendread Horde had a different leader now. It was much larger than the Chimera had been. It was clad in heavy armor. Enveloping it was a thick and ominous aura of resentment. It was Vendread Battlelord, and it had been born from the grudges of all the Vendread that the Slayer had defeated. The collective hunger for vengeance against the Slayer had combined into a frightening force, and wherever the Battlelord went, it would leave a trail of death and destruction behind. Wasn't this the plot of Doom 3? It was one lone fighter's wish to eradicate the Vendread against the Horde's desire to crush their executor. Their rage came to a head, and thus another clash to the death began. The Battlelord's might was far more tremendous than the Slayer could ever have imagined. Not only could it absorb the surrounding Vendread, but also those who had lost their lives at the scene. The Battlelord had a steady supply of fodder, and it only grew more powerful as time went on. No matter how strong the Slayer's desire for revenge was, his blade stood no chance against his foe. He pushed and tried everything he could to gain the upper hand, but in the end he was overwhelmed by the Battlelord's immense strength. Well, I imagine it doesn't end there. Our Revendread Slayer has to one-up him somehow now. Revendread Slayer lay limp on the ground, wounded and battered, like it was a ragdoll that had been flung aside. Vendread Battlelord picked up the small hunter in his enormous hand. Then, just as it done to the other Vendreads and the fallen victims, it reached its other hand towards the Slayer's chest to absorb his powers. The Slayer's consciousness was sinking into nothingness fast, but then the faint glint of his locket caught his eye. That tiny gleam was enough to remind him that his mission was not yet over. With this conviction renewed, the flame in his heart lit up once more. No wound on his body could stop him now. The Slayer mustered all the strength he had left, and right before the Battle Lord could absorb his powers, he plunged his hand into the Vendread's chest and ripped out its core. Holding the core, the Slayer began to feel a new surge of energy. His body was absorbing the hateful power that the Battle Lord had possessed. The tides were turning. With the Battle Lord's powers flowing into the Slayer, its body started to crumble. However, just as the Slayer began to think the fight was finally over, the core, fighting for survival, brushed against the Slayer's pendant with a stray hand. The Battle Lord's remains, along with the Vendreads that surrounded him, began to transform. They all began to take on the form of the woman that the Slayer cherished in his previous life. With that single touch of the locket, the core had sensed the remaining dregs of the Slayer's love and sought to destroy his morale with it. The Slayer froze. Was this a dream? No, this was no dream. He shook his head, trying to remind himself that the love of his life was already gone. That this was a nightmare that was trying to ensnare him. He balled his fist in anger. How dare these scum disgrace the memory of his beloved? As the burning rage surged and finally exploded, he found himself transforming into a new form with stronger powers. He had become the Revendread Executor. Well, alright then. Now we got a rank 4 duel, I guess, with a modified Vendread deck. Okay, so we have our hounds here, this trap from before, and some other stuff. So what does this do? Send a monster from your hand or field to the graveyard, special summon a Vendread from your deck. It would be great if I could ritual summon this turn, but it doesn't look like that will be happening. Let's see, discard a card, target a Vendread and a ritual spell in your graveyard, special summon the monster in the graveyard, add the ritual spell to your hand. That would be helpful if I had any of that stuff in my graveyard. What do I summon? I guess I summon you. And this is really all I can do. Not yet. Why would you attack like this and blow up both our monsters? I want to see where this is going. Okay, now both our monsters just resurrect themselves. Okay, so we basically had the same turn. Really? Alright, I guess I'll use this. Battle time! Oh, really? You did the same... Did we have the same hand? And I can't use this on the token. Great. Card destruction. Yes, I think I will. Alright. I think I'll use this, discard this. Add this to my hand. Alright, battle phase. Oh, great. Unless I draw pre-preparation of rights next turn, I'm kinda screwed. Oh, yep, of course. Wait, that's it? Okay, well I drew the spell card, but I still don't have the monster. Yeah, there's like nothing I can really do. Oh, now you're link summoning. That's a weird decision to summon this, but anyway. Okay, activate effect. Discard Mezuki. And then... So I could just summon this fellow raw. When the search for items in the field, can't target except this one. This is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect. It's on the monster zone. Add a Vendread from your deck to your hand. Can't use your effect. You know what? I think I'll go for it. Okay, activate effect. This guy. Banish this, so they can't come back. Please don't Sakuretsu armor me. Okay, that's interesting. Well, that's all I can do. Jeez, we're already on turn 11. What do I have in my graveyard? Well, I guess we'll just battle then. No. That's a little concerning. Just setting a face-down spell trap. Okay, might as well activate terraforming for the heck of it. Okay, so I could use DDR here to resurrect a banished monster. We got Mezuki, Vendread Menace, and Vendread Town Horde. We could also discard a card to add a Vendread to the hand. And so actually, let's do that. I don't need the second copy of the field spell, so let's discard this. Alright, so I could send this card to the graveyard, reveal it, special summon it. Hound Horde can be special summoned by discarding a card. This guy doesn't get his Floating Effect unless he's been ritual summoned specifically. I think I want to get Houndoom to my hand. I want to use this guy to hopefully ritual summon. Discard a card, target a Vendread in a ritual spell in the graveyard. Special summon the monster in defense mode, add the spell to your hand. That could be useful later. And then as far as monsters from the Banished Zone goes, if I wanted to revive one of these guys, which one would I go for? I think I'll do it. Discard this. And then do I summon Mezuki or Revenant? Mezuki has a better graveyard effect. Revenants would help me. No, I'll go with Mezuki. Alright, battle phase. I'll attack with Mezuki first. Excuse me, we're messing up the city behind us. Oh, behind my opponent, rather. Alright. I kind of feel like our opponent's giving us easy mode, to be honest. I'm like doing all these like things to like prepare for the inevitable. And so far, he has not really done much. I guess we'll just go for it. Nope. Kaboom! Final hit. Perfect amount of damage. Oh, the city shuts down. That's cool. Alright. Let's see the ending to this tale. Fueled only by his scorching hatred, Revendread Executor swooped through the horde and cut down the false figures of his beloved one after another. He had been fighting his foe for days that could no longer be counted, all alone, and after absorbing Vendread Battlelord, his grudge only grew bigger with his Vendread powers. It was barely being kept in balance with his human heart. His mind and body had long been pushed past their limits. It was already a miracle he was able to exist with both life and death in one vessel. It didn't matter anymore if what remained of his humanity faded or if his body fell apart. Nothing could stop him now. All he had on his mind was to fight, and fight, and fight. He threw everything he had into this single desire. Then, at long last, the Vendread horde moved no more. The battle had finally come to a close. The rays of the sun broke through the dark veil of the sky, illuminating the Slayer. Just how long had this war waged on for? The city's survivors squinted, unaccustomed to the bright light. Wait, so the Vendread also blotted out the sun? Okay. But oh, what a joyous sight it was. No one ever thought they would see the end of those eternal nights, but here the sun was in all its glory. The Slayer could feel his body fading with the light. He bent over to pick up the locket that had been taken from around his neck. All the Vendreads had been defeated, and the darkness that engulfed the city was gone. But at the end of the day, he too was a Vendread, and now it was his time to go. Now that the undead threat had passed, with the endless nights, the survivors were able to return to their peaceful lives. ignoring the large culling to their population. However, the grief of losing so many lives left an unmendable hole in their hearts. A lot of survivors also developed a fear of the night and would be plagued by nightmares of the horrors they had faced. Unbeknownst to them, a single shadow watched over them from atop the glowing skyscrapers. Just like he had saved the city, the survivors had saved him. Somehow. Although the Slayer had set out for revenge, he had still saved countless lives, and they all celebrated him as their hero. They were able to hold on to hope because of this lone fighter, and as the Slayer was slipping into the darkness of that fateful day, the survivors' kind hearts pulled him back, with just nonsense, but whatever. Thus, he was able to remain in the mortal world without disappearing like the other Vendreads. If the world ever fell to darkness again, if monsters threatened the lives of the people again, he would surely swing his blade for them once more, but this time without the resentment he once harbored in his heart. If that time ever came, he would fight not for vengeance, but for peace, and to give the people courage and hope when they needed it. Alright. Alright, so that was the Vendread archetype, everyone. Interesting ideas for sure. I don't think it ever took off, though. And given that this was sort of a longer story, I think we're going to cut it here. We'll take on, looks like, the Ghost Trick, and I have never heard of this archetype before. Next time! So yeah. I don't really have anything else to add. Hope you're all having a good day, everyone. Locust Storm, signing out.